Been a sensational year for Blackfern Ruby Tui, hasn't it? It was a year ago, last week, that I first spoke to Ruby. She'd just released her book, Straight Up. It was before the Blackferns World Cup campaign. That book went on to be a massive success, as did the Blackferns. And what has come since for Ruby has been enormous. She's in huge demand all over the globe. Ruby is now back with another book, this time aimed at children. It's called Little Ruby and Friends. And Ruby Tui joins me in the studio now. How you doing?
Hello, my friend. It's very cool to be in the studio with you, because I remember last time, it's hard to conversate, I find, if it's not in person. Like, I really try on the phone and that, but so it's really cool to be here. Thanks for having me.
Because, and we'll get to the book shortly, but it was almost a year ago I spoke to you, and we dragged you out, I think, you're in a training session, and they've given you this really short space of time. You do brilliantly on the phone. I'd talk to you if you're on the moon. But of course, that was before the launch of the book. It was before the World Cup win. It was before the sing-along. Everything. I think what has come since then, you're in so much demand by the media, by sponsors, rugby teams, speaking engagements. I mean, it just goes on and on. You've been travelling all over the place. What has the last 12 months been like?
Yeah, so I'm really just extremely grateful and content to be in this position. This was probably the last, but one of the most important missions I had for my sabbatical year. So basically, after that all happened, what you talked about, I had to sit down and go, what am I doing next? And everybody wanted to know, but I hadn't actually figured it out. And after over a decade in the black jersey and winning the World Cup at home, absolute pinnacle so far, I had to kind of go, do you know what? I actually need a break. So I ended up kind of pushing back on the playing stuff and talking to my coach, and I ended up going on the first ever women's rugby playing sabbatical, which I'm really, really proud of. So I kept pushing back, and that was one of the results. So hopefully, open the door for many other athletes, not just women's rugby players, but athletes, to kind of say, this is what I need mentally right now. And yeah, I went all over, traveling around the world, got to do some sponsorship stuff, got to pour back into the Friendship Cup. And I guess that's kind of where this awesome book came from. I've always had this concept of mental health in a kid's book in my head, and the memoir Straight Up was so serious and so big, so this was such a joyful experience. All my friends, every character in this kid's book is a real life friends of mine. Even the illustrator is a real life friend of mine. I had to push Jenny, Ellen and Unwin to let me pick my mate. I was like, I swear she can draw good, honest, and luckily she came through. So this was probably the last thing of that 12-month break I've had to tick off before I jump back into the footy. So I'm just so grateful for the last year.
Are you blown away by the impact that you've had?
I'd probably say I'm blown away by the feeling you experience to have the support of a nation. That was just so special. Just sold out everything. I remember we had security, and I was like, we don't need security. And then I got lunged at by a couple of people. I was like, oh mate, maybe we do need security. So to just have the support of a kaupapa that I've believed in since I first found out about it, it's just been the most amazing thing, and made me just so proud to be from this country. I knew we had it in us. So yeah, blown away by how beautiful it's been.
You talked before about that pushback and going, hang on a minute, I need to stop for a moment. This has been full on, and I need to take stock and work out what I want to do and have a moment. And in a way, after reading the book, that's what I almost expect you to do. If you got anything out of the book, it was remembering to take care of yourself and to listen to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because so we all had a conversation, me and all my friends that are in the book, of different mental health strategies we have, in real life. This is based on real life. And Nikki Lee is one of my friends who's quiet. She deals with autistic children a lot. And she often always reminds me and herself, I just need time. And in the book, I even go she, what's wrong? She's obviously upset. And I try and come along as little Ruby and help her. And she just turns around and says, hey, can you just give me some space? Can you just give me a little bit of time? And I think as a kid and even as an adult, sometimes you're like, oh, is it me? This is, we take offense for some reason. We think the world revolves around ourselves, but sometimes to be a good friend or to just do the right thing, those people, including myself, we just need a little bit of time and we just need a little bit of space. So I actually even talk about it in the book. Sometimes, you just need a pause to even figure out how I'm going to fill my cup next. You don't have the answers straight away all the time. In a rugby game, it's quite beautiful. I think the answer kind of appears, but in life, it's not always like that.
Little Ruby and Friends, was this the kind of book that you would have loved to have had when you were younger?
Yeah, absolutely. So, writing straight up was such a huge process, and Ellen and Unwin were beautiful. My family were really beautiful, but it was a really huge process, and it was full on. And I think we talked about before the show this morning, it's at the very least needs parental guidance. Like, it's some pretty heavy topics, and so, always wanted to write a kid's book, and there's all these young fans, like young girls, boys, they just adore our team. They're huge supporters of me and my teammates. I was like, I got to do this for them, so for all the kids out there, and for me, looking back on my life, if I read this book with my parents or my caregivers, my aunties and that, I would have been like, how do I feel when I'm upset? What does it look like for me? Like, how do I want to be supported? So, I think a little Ruby and hopefully, make her proud and enhanced her life with this book,
The kids absolutely love you. And you are so patient. I see you waiting till you've signed the last autograph to the last child who's waiting and things like that. But do you feel like a little bit of a role model for them? Is there any weight that comes with that?
Yeah, well, I always try to sign all the kids' stuff. Recently, I've been putting the timetables in the buses a bit behind time, so we're getting ripped out more and more. But I think that just means there's more support coming out. But we always try, fam. Me and my team always try to sign everybody's stuff. Weight with being role model, absolutely. This concept, we always talk about it as athletes and within the team, like, because you can kind of go, oh, I'm not trying to be a role model, I'm not trying to be this, or you can go, no, like, I take it very seriously, I'm a role model. I like to think I kind of just sit somewhere in the middle where I go, I don't go out and start my day with the intent of being Miss Perfect or anything, or the best role model, but I absolutely understand there are eyes on us, and whether I like it or not, I'm trying to make the world a better place. I'm trying to be the best rugby player I can, and as a result of that, you end up just in a role model situation, don't you? So I try not to think of it as a heavy weight, but a very privileged weight, like it's actually an honour to be able to write a book and kids want to read it,
It feels to me like grassroots is still really important to you, and it would be really easy now, considering all the options and offers on, for you and amazing opportunities that you have, that wasn't quite so much a priority anymore. But it feels like it is.
Yeah, I guess over this last year, having time to just reflect, I've had to kind of look at myself. Alan Bunting's always encouraged us as players to know who we are, and I think it is an ever-evolving thing, which means you have to revisit that a lot. And so, I've revisited, like, who am I? Like, what do I stand for? And I guess the beautiful thing is that hasn't ever changed. I love rugby because of its connection to grassroots, and I've found coming over and playing 15s after a long time playing 7s, travelling the world, growing our brand. Here, if I play, 15s, we get to play Super Rugby, which is around all the different cities, and then we get to play FBC, and my mate Ben here this morning, he welcomed me in and he had his counties top on, because I play for Counties Manukau. So it's this huge connection that rugby actually gives us back as rugby players. And I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to go off and sign a big contract offshore. I think that grows the game. I think that helps your family and stuff. But if I look at who I am and that's all you can ever kind of do, I like it because of that connection, and I think that makes New Zealand really special, that we can go win a World Cup, but then we can also go down to our club rooms and just enjoy ourselves as regular people. I think that's really special, and so I've always loved that about rugby, and taking time to close my eyes and think about who I am, I still do, and I feel very blessed and privileged.
But tell me about the sabbatical in the US. What was that like, playing 7s over there?
Yeah, so it was a big old decision. Me and my manager were tossing up different countries, different setups, different amounts of time. And one thing, we won't talk about the US too much, but one thing they do well is sports. Yeah. They do entertainment and sports so well. And I was just drawn to this competition. Everything they do is completely equal in terms of resources across the men's and women's program. They have a women's comp and a men's comp, exact same everything, but they also have a united comp. So each franchise has a men's and women's team, and at the end there's a united championship. So the combined points of the men's and women's team, the winning franchise wins it. So I was like, man, that's cool. Like, you know, imagine that a United Chiefs, you know, United Super Rugby champion, something like that. And then, you know, I was getting invited to all these different sports things. I went to the National Women's Soccer League, sold out every week. They've got their own stadium, the LA Angel City team, which Ali Riley is the captain of, who's Football Ferns captain, invites me down to one of their games. There's like all these different bars that you can kind of buy tickets to. There's, you know, here in New Zealand, there's boxes, but there's all these different levels of boxes. There's all these different levels of chairs, and the waiters come to your lazy boy seats, you know, and there were people, you know, you acknowledge often, you know, like this is Wendy from the Breast Cancer Foundation and she's raised money this week. We acknowledge those in New Zealand too. These ones were coming in like paragliding or parachuting into the middle of the field, holding a flare of the colour of the organisation, and then they, you know, and they're waving, and I was going, these are just normal people that they've trained up to just make this bit more exciting.
Have you got a few suggestions for Eden Park then?
Yeah, no, seriously, I was like, this is insane. But one of my favourite was the types of tickets you could sell. So there's like obviously the different stands and those kinds, but they had celebrity seat tickets. So they sell them to celebrities, obviously at a celebrity price. Then the celebrity has their moment like on the big screen, could be any kind of celebrity. And then they sold these tickets, really expensive tickets, right next to the bunker where the players sat. And I was watching the players, and you could see these wealthy people just heckling the bench, and some of the ladies were just like ignoring them, and some of them were giving it back. And I was thinking, geez, how would I deal with that if I'm sitting on the bench of a really big game? But then I was thinking, actually, if I'm selling a really exclusive seat, I'd take the hecklers, you know. So it just seemed like the US had thought outside the box, and all these amazing extravagant ideas and live sports. I went to all sorts, you know, baseball, soccer, they call it soccer over there, so football, the WNBA, you know, they do things like the crowd does not take a seat until the first shot goes in. So like the live participation and entertainment levels were just out of this world. And yeah, I've come back going, nah, there's definitely more to go here.
Yeah. Don't ever say that you'll take the hecklers, because you know they'll come. You know they'll come, Ruby.
That could go wrong.
You come across to me as somebody, of course, we've spoken before, I've read your book, but you come across to me as somebody with a deep sense of purpose. Have you worked out what that purpose is? Or does it keep evolving a little bit? Which naturally I imagine it would.
Yeah, I actually believe in my heart and soul that everybody has a purpose. And I think part of that, well, there's that saying, I don't like quoting without giving the right kudos, but I actually can't remember who said it, but it was like, the meaning of life is to figure out your purpose, and then the purpose of life is to give that away. So like, it's like this ever-evolving journey, like you figure out what you're here for, and then you just give it, you know, you just like give it to spaces and places and faces that will embrace it, and it'll just enhance their lives, and then in turn enhances yours. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to explain it, but I just absolutely believe that in my core. Like, you have a purpose. Your daughter reading her book has a purpose. I have a purpose. Everybody in this building has a purpose. And the cool thing is that they're all different. So there's just absolutely room on the earth for all those purposes to kind of come to fruition. Even the ones that like get under your skin, they have a purpose too, you know.
So what do you say to someone who might be trying to work out what their purpose is?
First of all, that's one of the most beautiful parts of the journey is figuring it out. And yeah, I probably got a bit stressed out when I was like, I don't know what it is. And I think that's a normal feeling. But I also think that's part of the gratitude journey, because when you do figure it out, you're so grateful for it. So I wouldn't even worry, because that's one of the most life-forming parts. And in this part, you get away with making mistakes or choosing the wrong thing, because all you can do is try different things and go, oh, that's not for me, lesson learnt. Oh, that's definitely not for me, lesson learnt. Oh, that might be for my friend, lesson learnt. So you're going to be in a place or a state of just absolute growth and learning, and it's nothing to be worried about. It's actually really cool, because you don't have that weight we were talking about when you find it anyway, so don't even worry.
The Black Ferns, you back with the squad?
Yep, back with the Black Ferns. We're currently on the biggest tour of New Zealand that we've ever been on, and it's funny, I don't know that, like no one's told me that, but I know that as a fan of the Black Ferns. We've been on tour of New Zealand maybe in more places, but we've never ever had the main stadium in every city we go to. So we've just been in Hamilton FMG Stadium, we're going to Sky Stadium in Wellington, then we're going to Forsyth Bar and down in Dunedin with the covered roof. Never played there. That'll be awesome. Hopefully the students are through their exams by then. And then we finish off in Mount Smart Stadium in Auckland on November 4th against England, which, they're coming back for revenge, so that'll be a really good game. And what the Warriors have done recently there at the Go Media Mount Smart Stadium is just insane. So I'm hoping, the Wars fans are like, oh, what team's next? It's us. It's the Ferns, mate. Up the Ferns.
We'll see if that sticks. I love it, Ruby. It's so wonderful to have you back in, and I know that you're really looking forward to this season, which is this rugby season, which is coming up. And I don't want to appear ageist or anything, but you're 31 now.
No, yeah, definitely.
And I am curious to know, there's just, the world's your oyster. Obviously a lot of rugby ahead of you still. Got any other ideas about what you might do?
Yeah, I've got a few, and that was part of the sabbatical state as well. Like I could have gone offshore and stayed offshore. I could have not carried on. If I truly felt there was nothing left to give there. I'll never forget Wayne Smith, old Smithy's words. Oh, he's got a book coming out too later on. I think his party's this week sometime. But he always said, and I think I hear his words reverberate each day. He said, the days you play rugby are the days of your life. Like, the days of our lives are the days we play rugby. So enjoy it, make the mistakes, live for it. So I've absolutely got a couple of ideas and things I believe my heart is gravitating towards. But I also learnt the importance of being present and just putting my head down and being a footy player. And like I say, this little Ruby and Friends book being released it's kind of a beautiful celebration of that time for me, and my last kind of hoorah, here we go, before I get stuck in again. So it's a beautiful place to be in my career. I'm ready to give my all to the Black Ferns and to Alan Bunting for the time that I can, and I feel very blessed to be able to do that. And hopefully Little Ruby and Friends will be able to do the work while I'm off playing footy.
Absolutely. I'm sure that it will. And I love the book, and it's a book which can reach children wherever they are. It's universal, but I did love just the Kiwi language in it. It's so good.
Got a gumdrops?
Yeah, I did it. It just still had this beautiful little Kiwi essence to it. So
did you pick up on any of the puns? There's secret puns for adults only.
Okay, I'll have to go back and reread and look for this. Give me the book back, Ben. I'll have to get my book back off your young fan. Hey, thank you so much, Ruby. Really appreciate it, and good luck with the Black Ferns.
Thank you, my friend, and thank you for all the support you give women's rugby. We hear it and we really appreciate it. Thanks for having me in today.